think the timing is great. The anniversary date is the 23rd, and hopefully we'll have a good verdict by the 23rd.
That's Ahmaud Arbery's mother outside of the courthouse, federal courthouse, where once again the death of Ahmaud Arbery is center stage. There he is. You know, he was shot and killed on February 23rd of 2020. And now, almost 2 years to the date, we've got a jury that is deliberating. And we're waiting to hear what they will say in the federal case against these three men who murdered him. The charges here are hate crime charges, where it's all about the motivation, why they did what they did. It's federal court, no cameras inside. Let me show you what the government argued, some of the big points they made during their closing argument to that jury. They argued that the defendants were vigilantes and were motivated by racial assumption, racial resentment, and racial anger. Said that they associated black skin with criminality. They argued that Greg McMichael shared a video of the incident to frame a narrative that benefited him, and Travis acted under the assumption that Arbery had stolen his gun. All right. Let's bring in the think tank. Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy, Philip Dubé, Al Wunsch. Here's the question I have, right? And I'll start with you, Philip. The defendants were vigilantes, great for the murder trial. Is it enough? Is it enough that, because we all know, and I think it's pretty clear from the evidence, that they believed Ahmaud Arbery was committing crimes in the neighborhood. If the basis of their belief, if the jury believes that they believed he was committing those crimes because he was black, does that get them to what they need to prove for a hate crime here? That they believed he was committing these crimes because he's black, he's in our neighborhood, he's running, he's black, he's in our neighborhood, he's the one that must be committing these crimes. Does that equal hate crime for what happened inside Satilla Shores?
If you believe that they interfered with Ahmaud Arbery's civil rights just to be at liberty out and about on a public street and use force or violence against him or threatened him because of race, then they're guilty, and it resulted in death.
But this is a fine issue, right? It's not just anyone who's running through the neighborhood. It's the person they believe is committing these crimes, which they were wrong, right? But they believe that he's committing the crimes because he's black. So it's not just he's running because. You get how there's a subtle difference here. So is that enough, Philip? And then Teresa, you let me know your thoughts.
Well, it's an added element to the crime that the prosecution has to prove. Did they do this to Ahmaud because he's black? And I've said from day one, Vinny, let's be honest. If a white man in a trench coat carrying a Forbes magazine or a Wall Street Journal happened to walk onto that property unannounced, uninvited to look around, do you think that these people would have done that to him? I seriously doubt it. They would have had no doubt, no question that somebody of his stature belonged there. But when you have Ahmaud jogging through the neighborhood who happens to be of color, doesn't look like he belongs there, I think that was the red flag to these men, that a black man was on the property as opposed to just anybody on the property. So yes, I don't think it's going to be hard to prove to this jury that it was racially motivated.
Teresa, you agree?
I agree. I agree that, I mean, from the moment, the story came out and just everything leading up to it with the, how long it took for them to even investigate the crime and, other officers being involved and how it went, how it was going, back and forth. There's no doubt in my mind that this was racially motivated. And I think, once the jury hears the facts of the case.
Well, they've heard them all.
Now they're in the closing argument. So I expect to hear a guilty verdict. That's what I expect to hear. But I definitely think that it was racially motivated. And if it was just a white person that was committing the same exact acts that Ahmaud Arbery did, we wouldn't even be here. And it probably would have ended at the time when it probably would have ended at the time when the police first came out. How, they didn't go forward with the investigation. I think it would have ended at that point. I don't think it would have taken as the role. I mean, I don't think it would have taken, it would have come this far if there wasn't an uproar by the Black community about why this wasn't investigated like any other crime. So I know I've kind of spoke over my time, but I definitely believe that this was a racially motivated crime.
Al Wunsch, let me show you what was argued by the three defense teams, three defendants here. First, Travis McMichael. Travis McMichael's attorney acknowledged the racist language used by Travis on social media. Travis McMichael's attorney argued that the government presented no evidence that Travis used a racial slur on the 23rd, on the day of the murder. Okay, now the attorney for Greg McMichael, the father. Greg McMichael's attorney argued race was not a factor in Greg's pursuit of Arbery, said that Greg followed Arbery because he recognized him from surveillance video that displayed him on Larry English's property. And finally, the attorney for William Roddy Bryan, the one who recorded all this, the attorney for Roddy Bryan asserted it was reasonable for Bryan to assume someone was being chased and yelled that someone had done something wrong. Referencing some of the racist language Bryan used in messages, the attorney said the terms he used were nothing to be proud of. So, what do you think of those arguments, Al? Is that going to be enough that, hey, this is the person that we saw on the property over and over again. He happened to be Black, but we recognized him from the videos being there more than once.
I think it's going to be a tough call on this. I mean, this is such a heinous action. And, it just demonstrates the horrendous behavior from these people from the beginning, that the racist comments that they made, things along those lines, you can bet. Well, I don't know if they saw a man on the premises wearing a trench coat. That might be another issue that would come into play. I don't know if they would necessarily be the happiest to see that going on. They don't strike me as the type of people that like interlopers or anyone that's different than they are. So, under the circumstances, those defenses are defenseless. I mean, there is nothing that's going to come forward in this that is going to work in their favor. This was a clear-cut racist action, no doubt about it. I mean, it brings back the days of the 1800s, the 1870s, the 1880s, during the Reformation, during the period when we were, coming back after the Civil War, trying to put the country back together again. And you have these gangs wandering the streets, trying to put their own form of justice. It's just exceedingly scary. And I hope they're found guilty.
And we shall find out. The jury has the case, and when that verdict comes down, you'll hear about it right here on your front row seat to justice.